let's focus in on our former colleague Mike Mayock a little bit here, Mike, because you just said that even Mike would think that perhaps that they let it go too long, and he's the one that is now in the crosshairs, if you will, of a Twitterverse or a 21st century attention span, where Brown, in the span of 4 hours, went from a complete cast off and loser of 31 million guaranteed dollars to a patriot that was being lauded as the missing piece within a span of one afternoon. Mike is being Mike's being criticized for that all in, all out stuff as alienating Antonio Brown, and that he shouldn't have done that. Knowing what you know from behind the scenes, how do you take that criticism of Mike?
Well, first of all, Mike was, as you know, great at what he did at NFL Network and universally respected in our world. Didn't have to leave. Was wooed by John Gruden to take that job. And both he and John knew the deal. John runs everything, but Mike was going to be his top personnel guy with the GM title. But Mike's a very headstrong guy and, someone who I know reveres Bill Belichick and likes the way he does things. And so I think his inclination is to be an authoritarian and be no nonsense, which I think is generally a good thing in, when you're trying to change a culture on a football team. They got to a point with Antonio Brown, probably because John is in full control, where they were trying to just think, yeah, he's being weird right now about the helmet and the feet, but let's just get him on the field because he's so good and we can get through this. And finally, I think they did the good cop, bad cop thing, which was smart and by design, and have Mike be the bad cop. But then, you can't get to a point where a player is threatening a general manager in front of everybody else in the organization, and it's untenable in any organization. So, I'm sure Mike, if he were in full control, would have drawn a line much earlier. But yeah, people who are saying, well, now he's the missing piece, now it's all good. There's no way it works out in New England unless, as I said before, he was just pulling a con the whole time, which I find really hard to believe. I think what's much more likely to happen is Bill Belichick, who absolutely is going to draw a line at some point, and significantly Tom Brady, who wants his receivers to be where they're supposed to be. And we know Antonio Brown, has a penchant for freelancing that worked out pretty well in Pittsburgh. I think those guys are going to say, hey, dude, we don't do it this way here. We can't. And we're now asking ourselves to imagine that Antonio Brown is going to respond to that by saying, okay, coach, okay, Tom, I'll fall in line, rather than say surreptitiously posting a phone call on his Instagram or a fine letter or, song lyrics invoking the devil that seemed to point to his general manager. I give this 4 weeks.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.